Well, got myself another Gaylord find from my local FreeGeek. This time this Asus laptop. Reason why I bought it is due to the specs of it, and it was only $5. And so far from the testing, this laptop works completely fine. The only issue with it right now is I don't have the proper power supply for it. But I do have a power supply capable enough to at least power the thing on and use it. But if I start hitting this thing like with Sims or something, it actually shuts itself off. One of two theories is the power supply I'm using is not providing enough power and the computer shuts itself off because of that, or it is overheating considering this thing has never been taken apart. So with that said, let me boot this thing up and show you what this thing's actual specs are. It has an i7 3630QM and 12 gigs of RAM. Luckily with this particular laptop right here, I actually had the RAM at the house, though I still need to get a battery for this thing and of course a power supply for it. So before I actually continue on, I need to see how much this thing actually goes for on eBay when it's actually fully working. I actually really couldn't find this thing on eBay other than under the sold items here. And they go for about 170 to 190 give or take, so I would say this thing goes for about 180 on eBay. So if I can keep this thing under that price limit when it comes to the components I need, I should be completely fine. Now, the major reason why I bought this thing was due to the dedicated GPU inside this thing. Now, I guess this GPU isn't the best out there, especially when this thing was originally released, but the fact that this thing has a dedicated GPU in the first place drew me to it, and also it has a 1080p matte display. Now, if you may remember, the last Asus product I owned was this Zephyrus G14, and well, you can see the remains of it on the wall of shame. While this one, on the other hand, I don't see that happening because, one, this was $5, and two, I'm not going to ask this thing to play Cyberpunk or anything like that. I just wanted something that's nice, and generally speaking, this is a very nice laptop, and also the speakers on this thing are really, really good. It even about par of my MSI laptop, and I actually kind of think these ones are a tad more better than my MSI laptop, and that's the one I spent $2,000 on. Go figure. So what do I need to do with this laptop here? Well, obviously I need to take it apart, reapply thermal paste, clean out any of the dust that's in it, and just general maintenance and whatnot, because I don't think this thing was ever opened up. And the fact that this was given to FreeGeek and then tossed in the recycle bin is kind of a shame, considering this is still a fully functioning computer and it's a 3rd gen i7. Let alone it's a full 4-core 8-thread i7 at that also. This thing may be slightly dated GPU wise, but processor wise, this thing is more than adequate for day-to-day use, more than adequate for YouTube, more than adequate for even simple Minecraft and whatnot. This thing can still handle games. So again, why this was put into the recycle bin is beyond me, but I talked to the guy that does the stuff in the back when it comes to stuff like these. And the next Gaylord bin that we start up, he's actually going to bring me over prior to dumping these computers in there, because laptops like this do not need to be in the Gaylord bin. They need to be put back together, get Windows up and running, or some weird instance of Linux, and actually get them out the door, because this computer, just like that Dell Latitude, are very competent and still fully working to this day. So that ran out of the way, let's actually get this thing taken apart. Well, one thing's sure, this laptop comes apart really differently than other laptops I've owned. The actual upper chassis, or the palm deck right here, comes off as its own little piece with everything else attached to it, while the screen and the bottom half are connected to each other, which goes against the convention, because normally just the bottom half comes off and the screen for it is bolted to the palm rest, but not in this one's particular case. But I think I kind of understand why that is. The speaker chambers, or the speakers in general for this thing, are fairly comprehensive compared to other laptop speakers. If anything, these speakers are significantly more bigger than my MSI laptop. I haven't taken it apart as deeply as I did with this one, and I'm not planning to, but even I know these speakers inside this Asus laptop utterly smoke the speakers in my $2,000 gaming laptop. So with that said, now to pull the heatsink off, hopefully I didn't destroy anything, and then put this thing back together. And one thing I do want to note is that when I did watch the original teardown video, the original person actually didn't remove the small little plastic clutch piece right here. If you actually remove that, you can access both the speaker cable and the display cable, instead of having to just go like this and try and pull them from the very bottom or from the top here with like a little spudger or something. So I pulled that little plastic piece, and well, it was real easy to actually take everything apart once I did that. So yeah. Now, I'm not doing a comparison, but I did completely forgot to show how the audio of this thing sounds. Now, this is coming through YouTube compression, so it's going to sound as good as YouTube will produce it, including my iPhone when it comes to recording it. But with that said, they get quite loud. Again, I think these speakers are a tad bit more better than my MSI gaming laptop. Again, considering the size of the speakers and the chamber for said speakers, it's very much understandable. And I really do wish computers or manufacturers of these computers would actually put more effort into the speakers in their computers. The only people that come close now are Dell in certain instances and Apple. But that's pretty much it. Alright, the CPU and GPU die are now cleaned off, and they're nice and shiny as they should be. So the next step is to put thermal paste back on them and put everything back together and hope that I didn't break this thing. I'm fairly certain I didn't. And when it comes to the heatsink itself, it was actually fairly clean. Though one thing to note is that there are no actual thermal pads that connect for the GPU VRAM and whatnot. I don't know why that is. It runs completely fine without it, but it's a little interesting thing to note if somehow you manage to come across this particular Asus laptop and whatnot too. But with that said, yeah, I'll come back when I get everything put back together. Alright, got back together to where I can test it. I haven't screwed everything together yet. I just want to make sure it still fires up. Alright, looks like we are good to go. Alright, since I didn't kill the machine, next step is to actually swap this SSD out for a 2TB full drive. That way so I can actually use this laptop for more than just 240 gigs worth of stuff. So I'm going to pull the 2TB drive out of the Dell Latitude I bought recently. Alright, got the hard drive installed. I put a little duct tape here because I don't have the original caddy for it. The original caddy had a little indentations that connect with some little clips where the hard drive goes. And without it, the thing would have slipped out a little bit, so duct tape to hold that down. So when it comes to the power I was talking about earlier, it requires a 6 amp wall charger. The closest I got is a 3 watt or 3 amp. Now again, this will power it, but if I like to try hit it with like a game and whatnot, it will basically shut itself off because it's trying to draw a lot of power from this power supply, and it's not capable of doing it because this thing requires a significantly higher wattage. Though if I had a battery in this thing, I could probably easily use this in conjunction with the computer, but since I don't have a battery installed, it's all running off this. And as long as I don't hit this thing hard, it will run completely fine. So with that said, I'm going to install Windows 10 again on this thing and come back. Alright, at the out-of-box experience. So next step is to, well, get everything else all set up, so I'll come back. Alright, I'm in the final stages of getting this computer set up. I'm currently in the process of installing the drivers for the GPU. Now, unfortunately, the drivers are last dated 2018, but it should play the games I expect this thing to play okay-ish. Compared to my MacBook Pro there, this thing should be far more capable. So with that said, my father ordered me both a power supply and a battery for this thing. So that should all come in Tuesday. So I think with that, I think I'll upload a video maybe Thursday of me just playing games on this thing and seeing what it can do. It handles Minecraft completely fine. It handles Sims completely fine. Though I'm going to be more interested in seeing this thing handle games like Sea of Thieves and Halo MCC. I'm not going to put Infinite on this thing because one, Infinite is a dead game, and two, it wouldn't run on this thing even if I wanted to. And of course, I'm not even going to try Cyberpunk because I know it ain't going to run on this. But I am going to keep this thing within its limits and actually not push it any harder than it should. So with that said, that's pretty much the end of this video. But with that said, when it comes to my main desktop here, my competence is nearly there to where I'm going to start parsing out pieces for Mikimo again and start working on her. I don't see this computer being an issue, so I think within the next week or two, I'm actually going to start back up on Mikimo because let's be honest, as much as I like getting these laptops from FreeGeek and a sound system for FreeGeek and whatnot, getting all that set up, I do still want to build Mikimo. So expect an actual build video out in, again, a week or two. So with that said, that'll be it for this video until, again, the power supply and the battery comes in for the laptop.